Hey everyone, what's up? It's Peter Sinkevich coming in again for my weekly vlog update for Fuckup Nights. I just wanted to say what's up. I hope you guys are having a good week. Um, Things to kind of go over. So you're following us this past fall, like specifically October, November. We pretty much doubled the size of our team. I think the number was like 10 to now we're at 19. So when you're doubling a team in terms of staff, it's a big deal, especially when you're this early. We're just about a year old, and we just, added nearly 9, 10 people onto the team. It's a big deal. So when you do that, there's usually some growing pains that come along with it. Um, and you're going to bounce in and off the walls a few times there as you're just kind of figuring things out and getting everyone comfortable with each other, getting the communication lines set, getting expectations and people running, knowing where they can get resources, etc. All really important stuff. So I feel like the team is now just settling into that as we've done a couple events. People are getting that comfort level. They're understanding, us as a team and an organization, what we mean to do here, and all of that. So that's really good from my perspective. I'm really happy to see that. Really proud of all you guys if you're watching. um, and I'm teeing them up right now for revenue. So very exciting. Haven't really taken any revenue at this point, so that's a really important thing to point out. Uh, really, it's more about getting this event next week, which is also extremely important. It's our third event of the month. We're launching Midtown. So we started in Chelsea April last year. Then we launched Brooklyn in September, then doing 2 a month. Now we're going to add Midtown to that. So it's going to be 3 a month. That's a lot for my team. And you have to keep in mind, these are 19 volunteers. So, that's a pretty big deal. And that kind of leads me into my discussion for tonight. Driving a volunteer team to great, achievements or goals. It's a pretty big deal, right? So, I spent my whole career, it's going to be 24 years now in startup, building and running paid teams, right? And so driving a paid team is completely different than driving a volunteer one. The main difference is that, volunteers are not fiscally compensated, or very much anyway, in the same way that people work like a 9 to 5 job and they're paid per hour or per project for their work. And so it's very, very different as a result of that. And it has a wide ranging amount of effects in terms of what you can accomplish, how you can accomplish it, the time frame you can accomplish it in. And so, I've been doing these volunteer startup events since January of 2014. I started at Startup Grind, launched them in Connecticut and Greenwich, did that all the way up until April. And then in April, I said my goodbyes and then started picking up Fuck Up Nights events here in the city. But, uh, you know, in all that time, I've learned a lot. It's the first time in my career I've ever set really high aspirations for a volunteer team, or never mind the first time ever in my career building volunteer teams, at least at this scale, for these really lofty goals. And so that required me to learn a few things along the process, make a bunch of mistakes, but kind of iterate what I'm working on. And the things you learn are pretty simple. Someone approached me in the after party, at the after party of our event Wednesday over in Brooklyn at Dumbo. And they asked me, they're like, so, how many people do you have on your team? I said, 19. And they turned to me and they're like, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but why do you need 19 people? And I said, well, have you ever built a volunteer team and set some really high bars? The things you experience with volunteer teams are, the word volunteer changes everybody's perspective and attitude towards the work that they accomplish. You find that some people have a very laissez-faire attitude towards it. And they're like, oh, well, it's free work, free work. So, they'll just take whatever I give them. Or, it falls lower on the totem pole of priority based on your paying job, your girlfriend or significant other, family, social events. I mean, it comes in at the bottom because it's work, kind of, or it is, and it's taking time out of your day that you could be spending in one of those other areas. So people don't put it high on that priority list typically. So, you find a very interesting group of people, and I think over the years, probably onboarded, I don't know, 60 people is a rough guess between that first event in January 2014 and where I am now with Fuckup Nights in January of 2017. So in 3 years, I've onboarded 60 people and I'm left with 19. So a third. So a third of the people that I found were committed, driven, would follow through on the commitments that they made. That's a really important one. That's another thing volunteer kind of does to you is not everyone believes, that they make these commitments, that they're ready to follow through on them. And you learn a lot about people's character as a result. So building a team volunteer for these lofty goals, the way to accomplish that, or at least what I've learned, is that you have to take the typical role and you have to divide it up into smaller roles of responsibility. And then, maybe that one person's paid full-time role is actually 3 volunteers because people are doing this in their spare time or, the time that they give you anyway. And it's not going to be the same amount of bandwidth that you're going to get from someone that's paid. So you have to divvy it up amongst more people in order to achieve the same result. So the negative effect to that is now you have a larger group of people to manage. So you have to end up becoming very organized. You have to put a structure behind that, and you have to be very communicative in order to facilitate all of what is necessary to manage a larger team, driving towards these goals in coordination and timing. So you really have to kind of understand what you're doing and how to build the business, what your vision is, where you're going, and then how you're going to get there, or at least have done these things before to then be able to describe them in this, I would say, more complicated manner. And the reason why it's more complicated is because you have more people that you have to coordinate for the same result. And so that goes back to leadership and structure and organization and all of that. So it's been a learning experience for sure. But the other part of that is that, money isn't the only compensation for situations like that. At least, in the interim, our organization globally, Fuck Up Nights globally, is a volunteer organization. But we're putting a business structure behind that. We're going to be structuring the company as a benefit corporation, which means that I can put social goals above fiscal ones. So even if I die tomorrow and this thing lives on without me, I know that the goals and the DNA that I'm baking into my team and into what I'm building here remains. We're here for the New York City startup community first, and we're here to return value to that community first before we're about money making. And then the other part of that is the money we do make, we want to return back to the community through events and special things and stuff we do for everyone to make it a better community or to elevate the community's success. So that's the ultimate goal. It's really a social driven enterprise from that perspective. And so we're putting all this stuff in place. And this year one of the goals is to transition the team completely from volunteer to paid, which means that we'll go through shrinkage in the team. We'll go from this team of 19, which will probably grow a little bit more even based on some things that we need. And then it'll probably reduce back down to that number roughly of a third where we were when we started, when we're talking about everyone being paid, because we'll have full-time roles and they'll have full days to kind of put towards this stuff. So it's been really kind of interesting from my perspective to learn from that and to be able to describe it clearly for you guys so you guys can kind of learn from what I've learned as I've built this team. But at the end of the day, it's been a highly rewarding experience. I have nothing but love for my team and everything that they give me. and give back to the team in terms of their effort and their drive and their commitment and just their love. So want to return that back to everybody, for anybody that's listening, that's on the team, and obviously the attendees who make it possible. But yeah, volunteer teams, not an easy thing to do. So to recap really quick, it's about structure, organization, and communication, right? So we leverage Slack to do the communication. We have an office in WeWork, Montague, which is in Brooklyn Heights, and that allows us to mitigate most of the issues and manage things to completion in a way that I don't know many other volunteer organizations can, at least around us here in New York. So at any rate, that's my piece for today. I hope you learned something. I hope this is a good update to give you an idea where we are at and like where we're going and what's going on. So as always, failure is not the end of the road. It's part of your success. I hope you guys have a great week. Hustle hard, and we'll talk to you next week. Peace.